What is up, you guys? It is your boy John here from Puma Plow. Welcome back to another On the Farm. How is everybody doing? Episode 170. Welcome to the farm. As you guys can probably tell, we have skipped some time since the last episode. I actually filmed that back in the spring, we'll say. And now it's not spring anymore. In fact, most of the pumpkins are planted. And the corn is really tall, as you could probably tell. It's actually getting ready to, it's hiding in here. It's hiding down in there. It is getting ready. It's getting ready to tossle here very soon. Of course, we are coming up on July. So it's, you know, about time. That whole knee high by the 4th of July thing, that's not a thing here in Missouri. That's for sure. Actually, here, right here. That is the very start of an ear right there. That will be an ear of corn right there. So this corn is ready to go and could use a drink. We've been a little light in the rain department. And when I say a little light in the rain department, I mean we had a wet spring. We had a very wet spring here in St. Louis. And now for the month of June, we are over 2 inches down on rain, 2 inches below normal. So we could use some rain here in the St. Louis area. Now we've had a little bit here. We had 2 tenths last night, which is basically enough to make the weeds grow. Now, I said most of the pumpkins were planted. And yes, most of the pumpkins have been planted. Let's take a look at what we have done. All right, as you guys can see here, we have our straw. This is wheat. We planted a wheat last fall, and we did get it all sprayed off and everything. Not as early as we would have hoped, but it is what it is. It worked out in the end, but it was kind of a nightmare. So we marked out our rows. That's where the bare spots are across the garden. We actually haven't finished planting yet because we have different maturity date pumpkins, and so you don't want to plant them all at once, obviously. So we had some family come down, some of my dad's cousins actually come down and help out. Really appreciate them coming down and helping out. Big time help there. And we planted pretty much like 70% of our pumpkins. And out of the 70% that we planted, I would say like 95% of them. These have been in the ground just about a week and a half, and you can see they're starting to get their first real leaf. And we are very happy with our stand of pumpkins. You guys notice that black hose laying on the ground? Now there's our irrigation, and you can see it does not stay in the row. And that's because we were doing a bunch of weeding out here the other day and we took it out. Now, we did water when we planted, but we want the pumpkins to get some roots, so we don't actually need to keep watering all the time. Anything that has been replanted, which, like I said, was not that much, but we did still have to do some replant. Dad has been hand watering those here lately. Can I just say, this sky is like, it just never stops amazing me down here. It is just awesome. Obviously, you can tell it's evening right now. 5 rows over here. We have 2 short rows up on that end. Those are gourds up on the other side of the hollyhocks. There are those flowers. We have 2 short rows here that are planted, and as you can see, they're doing quite well. Once you get past the short rows, those 2 short rows there are 3 more rows that need to be planted over here yet, and we will be getting to that probably, before this video comes out, but probably here in another week or so, we'll be getting to these rows here. Since we have different maturity dates on the pumpkins, some of them take 110 days, some of them take 85 days. So you want them all to be ready at the same time, so you plant them at different times so they're all ready at the same time. So in case you guys are wondering about the hollyhocks flowers, they are here. They're quite tall, as you might be able to tell. Some of these are probably 8, 10 feet tall. They're really tall. They did make it through the flood, though they all died, but there was enough seed here in the ground that they were all good to go. The other thing that has been happening here around the farm, not so much here on the farm, but like out there in the fields around the farm, the farmers have been irrigating. So let's take a look at irrigation right now.
All right, guys, we are jumping into voiceover mode for some of this irrigation footage. And I wanted to clarify a couple things here with this irrigation. This is the water cannon on the neighbor's farm. These are the guys that bought our farm back in the day. And this just happens to be the farm next door. Now, you'll notice that the water cannon, the stream is very, very low to the crop. And I will tell you that this is like my 3rd or 4th time trying to film this thing this year. This footage right here. This, like I said, I've been trying to film this thing. Every time we're down there and I'm about to get the drone up, they go and turn it off. It's like they know that I'm going to like fly, but I'm not. So I think what's going on here, and the reason this corn is really getting beat like it is simply because the cannon is basically done. It's basically all the way back at the hose reel, and he actually, within about 5 minutes of when I was done flying, or actually while I was still flying, he pulled into the lane to turn it off for the night. So you can see this corn is getting pretty well beat here, but it's okay. It's fine. I'm sure it came back just fine. I haven't actually been back out there with the drone to see it, but I'm sure it was fine. And everything's probably okay. But like I said, because the cannon was basically back at the reel, that's why it's shooting very low. And so that actually right there, it's shooting pretty good, but it's shooting a little lower than normal. And especially when it's pointing like out from the thing, not so much to the side, but it doesn't allow that water to kind of disperse as much as it normally would. So, I mean, it does kind of beat the crops, don't get me wrong, but it's not that bad. And really the crops are fine with the aggressiveness of the water, we'll say. And you can tell there's some wind here too as well. And it's about to get dark. That night we ran down kind of just to check this out and whatnot. So actually, if you look up, you can see the truck sitting in the lane there for a second. And here it's going to go back to the right now. This water is coming from 80 feet in the ground. I actually don't know how many gallons per minute. I can tell you there's a lot. The irrigation that they put in across the like 2 different fields. Well, really they farmed as 4 different fields now, but basically 2 fields was about 8,000 feet of 8-inch pipe when they put all this in a couple years ago. And like I said, the well is 80 feet deep, and it sits roughly in the middle of that 8,000 feet of pipe. That's a 2-inch nozzle on the end, and I believe they're running right around 100 psi, maybe a few more than that. So that's a lot of water. I don't know how many gallons per minute, but it's a lot. It's a whole lot. That red flag with the jug on the post, that is their well, or their riser, basically they call it, their pipeline riser, and that's where that pipeline is that supplies the water. It's roughly 3 feet in the ground or so, because that's our frost line here in the St. Louis area. You don't need to go any deeper than that here. No concern. They do drain some of the water out over the winter. They'll go down there with like a pump and pump it out, so it's all good. And just some different shots. You can really tell the wind here. The wind was really getting with it that night. And in fact, it was might have been pushing a little too windy for the drone, but this Mavic 2 Zoom, it really handles the wind because it's so small that it doesn't catch a lot of wind like my old Phantom did. The Phantom, it didn't like wind at all. Not at all. But there you guys can see that riser and the hose that's coming off of it and going to the thingamabob there. And you can tell the actual gun frame and everything looks really, really rusty. It's really not. It's just covered in the iron that is in that water. That water has a fair bit of iron in it. And that turns things kind of that rust color. Now you might be wondering why the reel isn't very rusty looking. Well, it doesn't get wet all the time like the little gun caddy does. But you can see I think it's hitting that stabilizer. It's in the ground right there, that wheel at the bottom of the screen in the center. The caddy there, a little cart caddy thing, gun caddy. I don't even know what you call that thing. The base to the sprinkler thing. I don't know what it's called. But it's actually running into it. So this thing does need to be turned off. And like I said, while I was still filming this, he turned in the lane to shut it down, or maybe just a couple of minutes after. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's really neat to watch. I know it's kind of weird, but it's pretty neat. So the other neighbors, and obviously you can tell this was filmed on a different day because of the sun and everything, but the other neighbors have installed a center pivot. If you guys watch my streams, you've probably heard us talking about it over there a little bit. My buddy Zach, this is actually his family's center pivot. The land it's on is actually on my dad's cousin's farm. So it's kind of weird the way it works out, but they rent the ground from my dad's cousin. And so they decided to install the center pivot so it waters their field, and then it can come over here to my dad's cousin's farm as well, or dad's cousin's field as well. So you can see all the little wobble heads a wobbling with all the water coming out. Roughly when they run this thing over, they're putting down roughly 1/2 inch of water every time, I believe, and I'm sure they can change it and put down more, put down less, whatever they want to do. It's pretty cool. We've talked to the farmers here a couple times. He can turn it on and off. He can drive it, all the stuff from his cell phone. So he could be, out in the field. He could be sitting at home. He could be wherever, and he can turn the thing on and off from the phone, which I think is pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's pretty neat. I'm a tech guy, so I like that. I like that quite a bit. You know, it's kind of neat. Their well also is roughly 80 feet in the ground. I think it's actually 82 or 83 feet deep. And their water has the iron in it too. The only difference is their pump is actually run by electric. They have an electric motor on their well. The other guys use a 4-cylinder diesel to power theirs. So that's kind of a difference between the two. And yeah, it was pretty cool. There's some high speed. That's kind of cool, right? It's actually what you call a hyperlapse or hyper something on the drone. I think it's a hyperlapse. Kind of cool. So here you can actually see the nozzles up on top of the pipe, putting out their nice water. And again, on this day, it was very, very windy. It was blowing that water around quite a bit, but it shouldn't matter. I mean, most of it's still going to hit the ground, so it'll be all right. But you can just tell with those sprinkler heads up there, basically, they're getting a very nice even coverage. I really like the way this thing waters. It's very gentle, actually on the plant itself, which is awesome. And it just puts out a nice rain. Of course, I didn't walk out in the field and get too close to the thing. You know, I can see it from the drone. I don't need to get out there and see it. But notice how like clean and nice all the pipes look and the uprights and everything. After they ran it twice, it looked like the frame from the water cannon, actually. All rusty looking. It's not that it's rusty. It's just there's so much iron in the water that I guess that iron kind of settles on there, and then that's what's rusting. It doesn't really affect the actual water cannon, or in this case the center pivot. So it's all good. It's all good. I forget, I think this thing covers roughly 100 acres. Roughly is what it covers. And then it does have the end nozzle too, which is pretty cool. Some parts in the country, guys, these center pivots are very, very common. This is like one of 2 that I know of, maybe 3, that's actually in operation in a row crop field. Of course, the side guys, they use them like crazy to water their sod. That's like constant. But in a row crop field, corn, soybeans, this is one of 2 or 3 in the area. And this one, of course, is brand new. And this end gun's pretty gentle as well. Puts down a fair amount of water, don't get me wrong, but it's fairly like kind to the plant, you know. Kind of a difference between this and that other irrigation we were showing a minute ago. So the only good thing, I guess, well, not only good thing, there's so many pros and cons to different ways of irrigation. This one, you literally just, you know, push a button on your phone and you walk away and it just turns circles. Of course, you need to watch it, make sure you don't have a flat tire or blown up gearbox or whatever. But the other one, the actual water cannon, is very labor intensive. Because depending on how long your run is and what kind of rate you have it set at, you could have to go down there every 4, 5, 6, 8 hours and move it. So you hook up to it with a tractor and drag it across your field, but you can water a whole lot more acres overall because, you know, it's portable. Whereas this one, it's gonna turn its circle and that's it. So kind of interesting. Pros and cons of different ways to water. I'm not going to say which one's better or worse because they both, like I said, have a lot of pros. Either way, water's water, and this year, up until here recently, we need it.
And the other thing that has been going on here around the farm, not so much here, but out around the farm, is that wheat harvest is among us. So let's take a look at wheat harvest.
All right, guys, we are jumping into wheat harvest here. And actually, it's kind of funny. I fly over this wheat field first. That was me taking off from the roof of the Ram truck. I was in the driver's seat and I just reached out the window and put the drone on top of the truck and then took off. And then, yeah, so that first wheat field, you'll actually see that one being harvested here in a minute. Again, this is the neighbors. This is my buddy Zach. This is his family. They have a red combine. So we're going to check out a red combine. Don't get to see a red combine in wheat very often in my area. This is the first time these guys have grown wheat in 20 or 25 years or something like that. It's been a long time. Don't quote me. That family, some of those family members may be watching. I don't know, but it was cool to see them plant wheat again. It's really neat. I like the idea of wheat in the area. Of course, I'm not a farmer, so my opinion doesn't really matter, but I like seeing it. It's neat to see. It's neat to see something besides corn and beans around here. you know, we see so much of it, you kind of get tired of seeing it, you know, and it's neat to see something else. It's really neat to see some wheat out there in these fields, and these guys just getting it, you know. It's really cool. I enjoy it. I really do. It's something neat, and that smell of fresh cut wheat. Same thing with corn though too. Corn has such a good smell when they're out there harvesting corn. Oh, smells so good. Just saying, smells like a farm, you know. What I like to say, it smells like a farm, and it just smells so good. Same thing with wheat. It has a smell to it, and it's I like it. I like it quite a bit. But you can see the wheat here was pretty decent. I'm not going to get into numbers or anything because I don't remember what they said they got. I know they were. It seemed like they were pretty happy with their wheat yield. I'm not totally sure. But overall, you know, I think their wheat yield was pretty good, and it was a pretty good year for wheat in the area. Not the best year ever, you know. I've heard some higher yields in the past, but pretty good year overall. And it's just so neat to see it, you know. This is the way it was when my dad was a kid. Obviously not with this giant, you know, case combine or you know, a giant John Deere combine right here. But it just, you know, they grew a lot of wheat back when my dad was a kid. And it's cool to see kind of some of how it used to be, you know. Obviously you can tell this is a different day because the sun and stuff. Again, this was a clear night. The other one was a cloudy night. So clear night, cloudy night, you know, whatever. Couple days later as well, they were harvesting this. This is actually on the ground that used to be my grandpa's. So this is ground that my dad grew up farming right here. This is the front 100 of the farm. This is a 100-acre field, and it was all planted in wheat. So it is all in late beans now. I don't have any footage of planting late beans, but they are all planted and they're doing quite well. So that's good. And, you know, from before, like I was showing in the video with the irrigation, it was really dry here for a while. We had like 5 inches of rain, and then it was just all like poof, gone, and just disappeared. And it was kind of strange. It was weird. We had 5 inches of rain on a Monday, and by the following Sunday, both irrigations were running, and you couldn't find moisture down there at all. It was super dry. Of course, we've also been experiencing a lot of heat here lately in the St. Louis area, so that doesn't help at all. And yeah, now since this has been filmed and since the filming of the irrigation running, we have been getting a fair amount of rain. It seems like here at the house, which I live like 12 or 13 miles or something from the farm, been getting a lot more rain. Seems like we've been getting rain almost every day. In fact, like my grass is getting out of hand, and it's just the whole thing because it's been wet. So hoping to take care of that here very, very soon. But like I said, this is the ground that used to be my dad's, or used to be my grandpa's, and dad would have grown up out here farming away with grandpa. So it's kind of cool. Anytime, you know, they're farming on the ground that used to be in the family, I like to at least watch it, you know. I'm just saying, obviously I'd like to farm it, but those cards aren't really, you know, those chips aren't really in the, however you say it, it's not really going to happen. But it's cool to at least watch it and see this big machinery out in the fields working away. It's just kind of neat, you know. And same thing, wheat was pretty decent in this field as well. Not the best they've ever had, but overall, you know, it was still a decent wheat harvest. I think they were fairly happy with it, and hopefully now they get some good late beans after wheat. You know, you get the dual crops going, and hopefully they'll be pretty good. They need some sunshine right now. Like I said, with all that rain, they need some sunshine, and they just need some time to grow as well. So they'll be getting there. You can see his sprayer track from where he sprayed the field. That's what those two like lines are there. That's just from where they sprayed fungicide on and whatnot. So it's all good. Of course, you're gonna run some down. We don't use crop dusters in this area. That'd be really cool. I think I've seen one time when I was like a kid many years ago, like 20 years ago or more now, probably more actually. But it's been a long time since we've seen an airplane down there. So actually to the right there, guys, past that green strip of weeds there, that is the other field we were just watching where the case was. These two fields are right next to each other, which is kind of cool. So It's pretty neat. There was a big chunk of wheat here because, like I said, our field was 100 acres, or what used to be ours was 100. The other field, I'm gonna guess, is I bet that's close to 100 acres too. So there was quite a bit of wheat there, guys. I thought it'd be really neat to show both combines side by side out there just doing their thing, you know? Pretty awesome. So pretty cool. Just the combines out there just, you know, collecting all that wheat. Wheat turns into money, right? Or something. That was pretty cool. Next time I try that, I'm going to try to get like the same shot, you know? I think that'd be really neat actually to like go into filming having that in mind, that I want to get like XYZ shot, you know? Because I really didn't until I was editing. I was like, yo, I should put these together, right? So there's that. I didn't really plan that one out during filming, we'll say, right? So kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is. You guys might be wondering, why aren't they baling the straw? We don't do that around here. There's probably not a market for it. Plus, you're putting organic material back into the ground, and a lot of the ground around me that gets planted into wheat, or probably all the ground that gets planted in wheat around here, it's very, very sandy soil that needs organic material to improve the health of the soil long term. So if you bale it, you take the organic material away. So a lot of the farmers, they choose not to bale it because they want to help the soil. So there is that. And then obviously, you guys, you can tell there's a bit of a sun difference between the two shots here, because it was a cloudy night on the bottom shot and a very, very clear night on the top shot. So yeah, I just thought it was pretty neat. I don't know. I liked it. I liked it quite a bit. I thought it was a pretty cool thing, guys. I'm just saying. I thought it was pretty neato. But yeah, that's just two combines, you know, doing what they do. And yeah, getting that wheat, making that bread, that pizza dough. Oh yeah, pizza dough. You know, if we didn't have wheat harvest, we wouldn't have pizza, and that would be sad. I would not be okay with that. I'm just saying. All right, guys, now we are in the pumpkin patch. Dad and I were out there. This was actually filmed on July 3rd. July 3rd is when this was filmed, so I know it's kind of old now, but hey, these videos are going to be once a month, so you take it, you know. I kind of almost just killed that plant right there, not going to lie. Basically what we're doing, guys, is you can tell it was really wet around July 4th here for us, based on, you know, the garden. These are our pumpkin pumpkin plants. That's, words are hard. Pumpkin plants. I'm kind of going through and doing the rough hoeing here. There's a lot of weeds that you can't see because they're kind of small, but they are there, trust me. And then Dad's coming along and he's doing kind of the finish hoeing, the close-up hoeing to the plant, because he has a little hand hoe, and he does that. So we, you know, make a good team, honestly. I rather not do the bend over, you know, hoeing with the little hoe than, you know. Plus, I don't like to get close to the plants because I have a history of just annihilating plants by accident. It happens, you know. I get a little too out of control, don't know my own strength sometimes, and well, you know, it kind of just happens, right? You can see we do have our irrigation line out of the way, that black hose, you can see it occasionally. We will be putting that back along the pumpkins before they get too much bigger, which I can tell you actually by now in real time, they are massive. They are vining out, they're closing rows up. It's a whole thing. But I just wanted to show you guys some of the work that goes into the pumpkins here. And the biggest reason we're actually weeding the pumpkins as well as we are right now, because we are going to be putting down a product called Trefland. It's a weed preventer. So it just kind of stops anything from germinating. And so we're going to be putting that down. Oh, I got attacked. Did you see that? I got attacked. I'm going to be putting some Trefland down. So Dad's actually working on that. I have our fertilizer here. It's just kind of a blooming and rooting type fertilizer. And well, we're going for roots right now, so it's not a bad idea to go ahead and give the plants some fertilizer. We have been using this on the pumpkins for many years. And we've always had good luck. We used to use it on our strawberries when we had strawberries, all that kind of stuff. So you can kind of tell I'm like measuring out water, like kind of weird, you know, with like a gallon jug. And that's because we're putting some of this stuff down as well, which I don't know if I show it to the camera or not, but yeah, I do. There you go. If you're interested, it's a pesticide, basically bug killer. Okay. That's what it is. And, yeah, we were having a lot of issues with bugs right around this time. So this particular stuff you actually mix into a water can is what you're supposed to do, and then it's, you know, based on so many like plants and stuff. So that's why I'm actually measuring. That's why I'm actually measuring the water, because normally I'd just fill up the water can and go, but we wanted 2 gallons of water in there very specifically because of the pesticide there, basically, and so that's why I'm being very careful to measure. Just saying. And the green tinge is from the fertilizer, by the way, with the water. So Dad has already put the traffland down. That's what's in that bucket over there. And it's like this little pellet stuff, and you kind of mix it in the top layer of the soil, and then it just stops stuff from germinating. It stops stuff from coming up. It's not the best, but it does work fairly well. And then, like I said, I'm going to water each plant. You want to wash off the leaves. You don't want any of that traffland to stay on the leaves of the plant. And B, it's to fertilize and put down the insecticide. So with that, thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to leave any comments, questions, concerns below, and I'll try to get to them in a future video. But thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. And as always, that's Zoodles.